Welcome to the Busy Being Born podcast with your hosts Kamande and Kigondu.
Yo,
hey, at least squeeze your wedding, hey, man. Bless up, man. How you doing, man?
I'm very good. It's been a minute.
Literally. That's what's up, man. Hey, yo tisho bana, nakucheki, man.
Unacheki mpaka vile nimekaa bana. Nini?
Hapo sawa. Mbona previous guest haukuflex, man?
Eti?
Ni sawa. Uko fiti, man?
Niko fresh, man. I'm great and grateful.
That's what's up, man.
How are you?
Niko fiti? Salama sana. Just maji na yogurt. Niko fiti lakini.
Nice, bana. Yo tisho ni fresh and I like.
Bless, bro. Bless. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hey, tuingie. We have a guest.
We have a guest.
Hey, niulize.
Hey, are they brilliant?
Oh, but of course they are brilliant. They are, let me do some alliteration vibe. Let's see. They are bold, they are beautiful, they are brilliant, and they are, they're brilliant. Nimeshindwa word ingine maze.
Ndio maana wewe si champ wa Scrabble.
They clearly. Uliza.
Are they representing the motherland?
Oh, for sure. Across the globe, especially vocally, but most recently pia tunaona their face on the screen, so okay. That's amazing. What's up. Yeah. They're definitely doing so.
And then last but not least, are they busy being born?
Oh, for sure. They're busy being born. As a fan, you can see their growth over the years, and even just meeting them in person, they exude so much light and love and a joy they carry that you can't help but think, you know what?
I know they fill the room with so much good vibration.
Sunshine itself.
Sunshine.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen.
Watu wa mso?
Definitely, clearly, busy being born.
Tell us more.
Mimi sitasema mengi. Nitasema they are an award-winning singer-songwriter. And this is such a cool fact. Sijui kwa ni media iko kimbia.
Award-winning.
Yeah, yes, award-winning. But the next one, they're an advocate of the High Court. This is a big deal, maze. Yeah. Why don't people walk around with these things? But generally, I find them, like I said, I find them super phenomenal. I love that I can now also call them an actor or actress now. And like we said, sunshine itself. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the one and the only Maureen Kunga.
I'm like, is this me who is being spoken about?
Hey.
I love that. Thank you.
So how's your...
Fantastic.
I love that.
You know? You love it, you say?
No.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Good.
Let me tell you, I feel like these were like morning affirmations every day. The older I get, I'm very young. The older I get, the more I realize like I think I'm becoming like a words of affirmation love language person.
Yeah. I
didn't think so, I think it changes over time. But listening to you guys, I'm like, yeah, that's my stuff. Continue.
We got you. If you ever need a lift, just holla.
Thank you.
Especially, unajua tume-establish uko ni married, so just, but anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have Maureen in the house.
Yes.
Maze, thank you so much for saying yes to the invitation.
Yes, thank you for inviting me and thank you for having me.
Let me ask.
Yes.
When was the first time you realized, if you ever did, that you generally attract people? People sort of, you're like, I don't know, we are bees and you're a flower and people sort of find themselves around you. Did you ever notice this?
Thank God that's the analogy you used.
Yeah.
I think I didn't. Maybe it's with self-awareness that I've realized that it's an actual thing and a gift and a superpower. But before that, I thought I was just, I've always been called friendly. When I was a child, I was always the bubbly girl, the one who's laughing a lot, the one who's smiling a lot. And you just live without realizing what that's doing to somebody or how you're being perceived or how you're presenting because you're a kid.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. But my mom told me once, and it's one of the things that I've kept in my mind my whole life, and it has meant so much as life changes. So my mom told me, maybe I think I was like 13 or 14. And my mom says, Maureen, you're a butterfly. but you're a butterfly who'd cut off her wings for somebody else.
Oh, this is
right?
true. Yeah.
And I didn't know what that, and I'm like, I'm a butterfly. I'm just, you take like, that's what you walk away with. I'm a butterfly, yes, without hearing the other part. And of course, it's adulthood that lets you learn the other part of like, she's like, yeah, you have this thing that's wonderful and people are attracted to, but people are also going to want to take, and you have the heart and being to give, and you can give until you die. And I think that's what I hear you now, mama.
Shout out mom.
And how has that awareness changed how you interact with the world?
Exactly.
I think it's just made me a little bit more careful, just a little more careful, understanding that yes, you can give people the benefit of the doubt, and yes, you can allow people to come into your warmth and your spaces, but there's a boundary. So I didn't have, but my boundaries were in the ghetto, in the bottom of, my sister used to say, my boundaries are in the bottom of hell. That's what my sister used to tell me. I didn't have boundaries. I'd do anything, bend over backwards for anybody. And yes, there are people who deserve that, and it's nice to be that way, but also to sort of hone it and then sort of make it special, give it to the people who deserve it, and who will appreciate it, and who will celebrate you, and who have something to give back.
Okay. So how do you practically do that? How do you establish boundaries?
I think first, I think my job has helped a lot with that.
Okay.
Because I think being in the public eye makes you automatically a little bit guarded, because now all of a sudden 1 million people want to speak to you, and you can't, and it drains you, regardless of how extroverted you might be. And I'm not at all, actually, which people don't know, that I'm introverted to the core. It's just that my job has made me outward facing. But yeah, I think I watch people first. So I'll talk and we'll engage and we'll have a good time. But I watch, and I'm trying to develop my discernment. I've prayed for it. I'm trying to learn more about it, but just to learn to discern. And I'm still learning over time. I don't even think I know the answer to that question. Yeah.
So it's a lot of that same compassion, that same openness. I think how I'd phrase it with a lot of wisdom now.
Right. Yeah.
So knowing that, of course, we have to interact with the world in a very compassionate way. And I'm saying this as an extrovert, as a sort of, I like that analogy of the butterfly.
Yeah.
But also sort of learning how to navigate the world with a lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
And those two sort of co-developing together.
Right.
One of the things that I've found to be very helpful, I can say this for myself, is my wife.
Yeah.
Right? Because she keeps me in check. Like, so I find myself in a lot of the situations where normally I'd just be out there fully open, and sometimes it's just being taken. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
She's the one who has to step in. She's not a bad person at all.
Right.
She just sort of wired a bit differently in that she has maybe more discernment than I do in terms of interacting with the world. So I found that to be super, super helpful.
And I think that's great. Like all great relationships, even friendships, whether it's marriage or a friendship or a relationship, having somebody who sees you who sees you see the world, right? So she's looking at you and is watching you engage with the world and knows you enough to know, hey, you're going to run thin here. Let me step in for you here. That's lovely to have.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing to have.
It's a beautiful thing.
Mazee, mnafanya saa nianze kufikiria.
It's okay. It's time.
You have us as well.
Well, okay. Now, I like that you noticed that you sort of understood this slightly older, yeah?
Yeah.
So this could be a thing that you now shifted the way you now approached life, yeah?
Yeah.
What is the most recent, it could be tiny, it could be big, thing that you've actually changed your mind about? Yeah? It could be super simple, but it could also be super grand.
Wow, changed my mind about... I've purposed in 2025, sort of 2025 became my year of yes, a little bit. So I changed my mind about the kind of things that I wouldn't do and the kind of places that I wouldn't show up. I cannot promise you that if you asked me this 4 months ago, I'd be here. I don't know that I'd do this. I feel like I used to have very sort of curated experiences with public eye. If I'm, you know what I mean? If I'm out somewhere, it's an XX minute interview and it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you don't really see us. And that was just sort of the brand that we had, and that was how we lived, right? And also it was what sort of worked with the time. Your kid's just trying to make this thing work, and so you limit how people see you also, so that you don't make up make a mess and talk
Yeah,
nonsense
yeah.
in front of people because
Just
you're
sort
talking
of
for 2 hours.
reducing the surface area.
Yes, so that
Yeah.
you reduce sort of the error,
Exactly.
But I think I've just opened up my in an attempt to learn myself also a bit more. I'm like, let's do more things and let's like run into the unknown a bit more. Because I read somewhere, this very might have been like a TikTok or an Instagram. I'm saying read somewhere, like it was such wisdom. I'm like, this
Don't
really
say, just
could
say
have
you
been
read and
social
stop
media.
there. Just say I read and stop
It
there.
really could have been TikTok.
just go for
but
it.
I
Love
saw
the
somewhere.
honesty.
Yeah.
but the message that I got somewhere was like run fearlessly into the unknown, because the only thing that you can find on the other side of something unknown is more of yourself, whether or not that thing works. The only thing you will find on the other side of an unknown thing is more of yourself.
So freaking profound.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's not from TikTok.
It's not, well, it
so profound, it's not
was
TikTok.
Yeah,
it
that's
was
really good.
wisdom
Yeah, it's
put
so
into a TikTok video.
Yeah, so
That's,
profound.
that's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm on sort of that journey of self-discovery. So I'm saying yes to a lot more things that I wouldn't necessarily have done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that, Maze.
Yeah.
Nimependa that she said we, and sort of we get it. Unajua, we get the group and the career and all that. And it's not only us. Any other interview, any other convo, when you said we, people would get it because they always saw you plus the two others.
Yeah.
And Elani, unajua.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah.
So I guess that is a good tangent for us to throw it back to not only the beginnings of Elani, but unajua, Kayang, Maureen, and Mom looking at her and thinking,
My butterfly.
guy, you're giving a lot.
Yeah.
You're giving a lot.
Yeah.
So where are we growing up and all that?
Oh, so I was born to a young couple. No, and I'm the third born. I'm the third and the baby of my very cool parents. I was born in Langata. They had just moved, if I'm not mistaken, from Buruburu. So the house that they live in is the house I was born in. I've never known a different home. I've known one house my whole life, which I think is very cool. Because I've heard about like my friends and people who've just moved house, and it seems just so daunting to me to get up and take your stuff and put your stuff elsewhere is so confusing to me. So I tend to, even now, like when you move out and you move, I tend to move and settle and like just ground. It's very difficult for me to move around. But yeah, so I was born in Langata, born and raised in Langata. Went to Msongari in primary school, where I met your lovely wife. And it was just such a nice childhood.
Wait, to
I'm a
those,
point
to those,
Kamande.
to those listening.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm a
Yeah,
point
they're listeners
Kamande.
also.
Yeah. Because unajua, someone's jogging, listening to us and thinking, huh? Yeah, so Kamande.
Yeah, so Kamande's
wife.
wonderful wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, I think I had, when I think back, I think I had a very charmed, happy, just loving childhood, and I started singing then, actually. So I was one of those kids, those kids who sing like in the what's it called, in the kindergarten concert of the end of the year, blah blah blah. I was always like stage front. I don't want to do lights. I don't want to do scripting. I
would
want
be a
to
prop.
sing the song. I will be the main actress and the first narrator. That was me as a kid.
You went to Msongari from kindergarten.
No, so I went to Pine Tree Kindergarten, which I think is now closed. I'm not sure. I don't think it's open anymore. But Pine Tree Kindergarten, and then Msongari for primary school, the whole of primary school.
Okay.
And then I went to Kianda for the whole of high school.
Okay.
And again, also that, like shifting schools and stuff. I'm like, I don't understand it, guys. How can you leave? How can you
One
leave?
school. Ask me how many schools I've been to.
How many schools, please?
8.
That's so, the anxiety.
One
would be
school per
crazy.
year.
Clearly.
8 in primary,
On
or
average.
8 throughout.
Primary 7. Then high school.
And is
That's a
this
big
because
difference.
like your family was moving around? What was happening? That
Yeah,
moving
well,
you around?
good thing is it's not my day. Yeah, it was
it's
just
my-
to show the
share.
yeah.
Oh, it's
yeah.
not your interview. Sorry.
Exactly.
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I moved. Yeah. So then high school, Kianda. I was in the choir in Kianda. Though we didn't have a lot of we weren't at a funky school. We didn't have any of those things, really. We just had the choir, and the choir did school choir things.
Yeah.
And then after that I left. I went to Alliance Française, which is where I met the rest of the Elani
everyone
members, and I did my French there, and I failed my B2 exam, but that's another story for another day.
No, that we'll get to in the next
Today's
45
only
minutes.
successes.
Previous episodes we had a brilliant French speaker, unajua, who passed everything
Every
they
exam.
ever
I'm a
put.
French speaker as well. Actually, currently I've started doing. I just finished 1 year on Duolingo French, so I went back.
What a streak.
Well done,
It is
well done,
one.
well done.
I think I'm on like day 370 now, something like that. But I wanted to go back just to the language to just keep, your brain, it starts to rot, if you don't spread it around. So I think I'm getting back into French. I'm getting back into sort of learning the language. It's a nice language.
Okay, good. That's a good setup. So for us to sort of double click and zoom in certain areas.
Yeah.
At what did you always feel confident even from kindergarten? You never had any butterflies in your stomach? You're never nervous about standing?
I was
in front
always
of
nervous.
people? Okay.
I was always nervous, but like excitement overtook nerves. I just knew I always wanted to do it. I got more nervous as I got older, which I think just happens. The self sort of doubt, and you're looking at yourself a bit more critically the older you get. So I did get a little more critical of self as I got older. But even from a young age, I was like, I have to practice. I have to make sure that I know everything. I need to have, I've always had like that sort of perfectionist personality a little bit. And then it didn't help that I was one of those kids who did like really well in school. So you expect to excel in every sphere of your life because you do very well academically. So I think I found myself just being a little hard on myself when I was when I got like to my teens, just before teens, preteen to teens is when I started to really feel sort of like fear and panic and let's prep.
Yeah.
But I've always had the mentality of like just prep as much as you can possibly prep, and then whatever happens, whatever mishap happens, the audience won't know. They won't know.
That's like priming the mind really well. But you've spoken of doubt. Why do you think it starts seeping in? Are you comparing yourself more? Are you noticing other gifted kids? How does the doubt seep in?
I think there's something that sort of happens to a kid when you realize you're not the best.
Okay.
You're like, I'm not because even in primary school, it was very much like I was number. Okay, you know how parents say, I used to run 65 kilometers to school and I was still number one all the time. Okay, I didn't run 65 kilometers to the school, but I was genuinely number 1 and 2 all the time in primary school. And then you turn 13 and you go to high school, and the number 1s and 2s of every school there is are in the same room. And now all of a sudden you're number 23 and you're like, wait, hold up. This is not how life is supposed to be. And I think that's it's a great thing to experience young. Because I've met very many people who experience that a lot later in life, and it's difficult to adjust to thinking that you're not the best, right? It's very nice to like know it from 10, know it from 12, that like there are other people who are doing this thing and you just need to work hard and you'll find yourself, wherever you find yourself.
Is it possible to teach kids that, I don't know, the reality of the world, that sometimes competition is very, very important because, getting some sort of, maybe getting ahead or, being the best at your craft, it's really, really important because the best people will sort of, I don't know, make a better living.
Right.
But not to the extent that we're teaching them that the most important thing when they are young is being number 1.
Right. I think
so you don't have to think about undoing it all at some point.
Right. It's a delicate sort of balance, right? And I don't have kids, so I can't be sure about that necessarily, about how to approach it. But I would hope that should I become a mother one day, I was just imagining a little baby with a big afro. I'm like, oh. Okay, if I were to become a mom one day, I hope that that's what I instill. That like, maybe you don't have to be number 1. I just need to know that you've done your best, and you need to know that you've done your best. And you have no regrets, because that's sort of like the ethos that I really hold dear to myself, is that if I've done my very, 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 very best, regardless of how this thing ends up, fine. I will not regret it.
Absolutely, because you don't have control over the outcomes. You only have control over the processes.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And then, but now they go to school, and maybe the people behind some of these curricula, they know something. Actually, they are smart, right? Part of the reason, like you find I think even in CBC to some some extent. The whole grading thing at a very young age is sort of, I can't remember the exact details, my wife will know, but they're sort of trying to readjust it.
Right.
Yes, that now the most important thing you're focusing, because even me as a kid, all of us here, my most important thing, hata iko how many marks I have, it was not which, ilikuwa ni mi number one.
Yeah.
The first thing I think about is, what's my position?
Yeah.
Hata kama sio tuko na 200 out of 700.
But
As
I'm
long
first.
as I'm
But
the
you're number one.
top
And
of
that's how
class.
our sort of education system was set
Yeah,
up, right?
yeah.
And it's not, it takes away, I don't know, I'm sure you've had the analogy of like all these animals racing, and it's a fish versus like a cheetah or something, and a fish versus one of these cats on land, right? Of course the fish is going to die immediately,
it won't
but
perform.
in the ocean, just put that fish elsewhere
Hey,
and see
they'll thrive.
and
Yeah.
see what's gonna happen, you know. And I think for us to do, especially like at the time that we were in school, we were doing 5 subjects, and just out of these 5 things, I'm supposed to be the top of all those 5 things, and that means my life is sorted.
Yep.
Really. Really. Life is so much more nuanced than that. So
Oh, yeah.
when you get a little older and you move like into realizing that, by the way, actually I was one of the big shocks of mine, other than going into high school and realizing that I'm not number one everywhere, is going into uni and realizing that A that I broke my back for, and B's and C's, we are in the same classroom, learning the
You
same
know?
things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is not a metric we can
Yeah.
use. It's not a metric you can
You're
use.
like, they lied to us,
Then
right?
I'm like, what was this for? You know, I'm still glad I did it though.
There's something that keeps coming to mind, yeah? So I like that you see self and you value self and are excited for self, especially in front of people at a young age.
Yeah.
Are there people that you sort of are looking at and thinking, I want to be that? Are these characters on TV? Are these musicians? Are these your siblings? And what's that relationship in terms of who you are and the things you look up to?
Right. So I've always, from a very, very early age, I've looked up to my mom.
Okay.
I keep saying, like, if I end up being half the woman that woman is, right, I'd be happy. My mom is fun. My mom is a wonderful human being. Just human being. And she's she's one of those people who, as I become, there's something also that I think happens to you when you get to the age that your parent was when they had you. You know, so I got to about, I think my mom was maybe 27, 28 when she had me. And you get to 27, 28 and you realize, okay, I was the third of these many children. This is what was happening at the time. Like, this is what this woman was going through when she was this age, you know? And then it has made me see her like in such a different, at some point it's now woman to woman. You know what I mean? You move out, it's a whole different thing. But through every season of my life, I've always looked at my mom and realized that she's just sort of like the epitome of this graceful, wonderful, happy, never allowing life to dictate how she responds person. Like she will not shift into, she will not lower herself to the standard of another person's mistreatment of her. She will not, you know, I'm like, who is this? I'm like, who's that lady? So I really, really, really admire my mom. I always have. Yeah, it's one of my best friends now, which I'm very happy about. As you get older, you know, when you're a teenager, you're
Disruption
you're
too.
fighting
Yeah.
over.
Disruption too. But are
Yeah.
you noticing these things about your mom even at that age, like super young?
I did sort of notice that she was a very resilient person. I noticed that she had a lot of grace around her. I knew that, but I didn't quite understand like the depth of it. Yeah, so it's getting better. And also now, as she's growing older and I'm growing older, she's sort of like becoming a little girl again. You know, so it's really nice to watch this girl just flowering and blossoming. I'm like, this
Reflowering.
is so
Yeah.
nice. Exactly, reflowering. You know,
man.
because she's done her job and her kids are good and she's, you know, and now she's like, okay, so who am I? It's lovely to see.
And she has you as well to walk that journey with.
Right. And to tell her the same way that you were talking about your wife and how she sees you and tells you.
Yeah.
It's also my job now to see my mom
do
and
that
tell
for
her,
her.
you know what, this thing that you're enjoying, push it. Go further into the thing that's exciting your soul. You know?
Yeah.
I really like this, especially because it makes me think, Maze, for the first time, I think we have a mom we want on the bench already.
Yeah.
Come, Maze, bring your mom here.
My mom is
Keep
great.
talking to her and go, man, this is a good guest. We want this guest, man. Yeah. Lessons here.
Maybe mom and daughter kwanza.
Sindio?
That would be a phenomenal episode.
That would be.
What?
that would be-
Listen. I'm ready.
Yeah, and
ready.
sun.
We have the experiments lined up in terms.
Thank you.
We have the experiments lined up. I think that's now the third one.
All right. Let me see. Mom, we have an interview for you, Mom.
Yeah, Mom, we have an interview.
Yeah. So who else in terms of people who are, I don't know, singing, acting? Is there anyone outside of your mom?
For some reason, Celine Dion.
Okay.
And me, okay, not even for some reason. Have you heard Celine Dion singing?
she's brilliant.
It's not even for some reason. Celine Dion is one of the most fabulous vocalists of our time. No one can tell me otherwise. I don't, you know what I mean? And she's just and she has this understated brilliance. She doesn't have to work hard. Like, of course, she's working very hard. You know what I mean? She's practicing every day, and I get that part. But when I mean just her presence, her being is not over the top. It's not dramatic. She's stood there on the strength of her vocal. And she's like, I'm going to finish this show. And there is no one who can come after or before me who can be even compared, you know. I think Celine Dion from very young was very inspirational to me. Actually, the first ever gift I ever bought, like the first international trip I ever took in my life, was in high school. And the gifts that I brought back were Celine Dion albums.
Oh, wow.
and I was like, yeah, this woman she's in my soul.
Clearly,
She's in my spirit. Yeah, I love Celine Dion. From a performance perspective, I will always and forever say that Beyonce is fantastic. It's just the work ethic and just the balance between the fact that you can actually really sing and truly, truly perform. Michael Jackson as well, the fact that he can truly, truly, truly sing and could truly, truly perform is like, you know, I think, yeah, those are the names that like top of my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. High school. Yeah. Trip out. Yeah. We could talk about it. Is there a moment? I really like the Celine Dion thing. I want to know how you guys ended up there. So we'll talk about it. But as soon as you answer that, is there a moment when you're performing, then after the gig, during the gig, you're like, oh, snap, this is what I'll do forever?
Yeah. Yeah, many times.
Okay. Is
Many
there
times.
one prominent one that is super meaningful?
The first time that we ever performed, and I thought to myself, my Lord, this is, oh my God. Oh my God. Was our first album launch.
Okay.
So we had, oh my.
In high school?
No. This is I thought you were asking that this is what I want to do for my life.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was what I wanted to do for my life
back then
until
you didn't.
I didn't.
Okay.
Even when we came in, I always knew that I wanted to sing, but it had never crossed my mind as a viable job.
Okay, yeah, career.
And I moved on and went into law school, and I was going to be a lawyer. Like I had no, I was going to be a lawyer.
Okay.
Actually, I wanted to study land economics before because I didn't know I was just a good student who didn't know what she wanted to do. And I thought to myself, okay, let's follow the money, and the money is in land. So let's do land economics and let's figure out.
Very smart.
Because they're giving us
Out
a
of the
paper.
house.
Yeah, exactly. You're giving me a paper in Form 4 to ask me what you're going to do with the rest of your life. I'm like, money.
Where the money at?
Where the money at?
So I'm like land economics, and then option 2 was like wildlife, because there was no option 2. I was just following, the money.
Okay,
So
that's curious. So you never really looked at singing and being a musician as a potential career?
I didn't, not in high school.
Up till later.
Until we did it. Yeah. Until we actually started.
Sir.
And we started performing as a fun thing. So what Alliance was at the time, we were I had gone there to study French, and this is that gap year after high school where you really have nothing to do for about 18 months. You're doing nothing. Figure it out.
That's
You're
where I
driving.
met this guy.
Okay.
I went to act.
And some of the most formative, wonderful relationships are formed in that time.
There.
Because you've come out of this structure into like you're a complete newborn, into this, that strict structure of high school. And now you're just free and everyone is just free. So then you finally get to think, okay, most of the thoughts are, I have 1 year before I go back into the system. Right? I have 1 year to do something before I go back into the system. And I'm like, okay, before I go back into the system of law school, which is coming anyway, and I'm going to study anyhow and go and be a corporate babe, which was the plan. So like, I'm going to go and be
Corporate
a corporate
girly.
Imagine, which I think by then I'd still thrive at, I think. I wonder. But I guess we'll never know. Alliance at the time was just filled with 18, 19-year-olds who had a fantastic space because the director was very open to having artists be there. So the songwriters are here and the dancers are there and the pianists are there and and you end up meeting people who today are everything in the music industry, but at the time were just people leaving high school who were interested in finding out, what this talent is, right? So for example, people like Sauti at the time were like one of the corners, you know, and Polycarp was there, and Polycarp was teaching Brian from Elani how to play the guitar. And so that becomes, you know.
Yeah.
And so I would go to my class, which was at 9 a.m., my French class, which was at 9, I think 9 to 10:30 or something like that, or to 11, and then come downstairs, because there's no point of going home at 11 o'clock to your house in Langata that's just
too
empty
early. Yeah.
when there are so many people here, you know. And then it just became this fun thing. All of a sudden you're singing a harmony with somebody, all of a sudden you're, you know, oh, you sing, oh yeah, I sing too, huh? Okay, that's interesting, that's fun. And then you start doing a fun thing. So that's actually how we started. We had no intention of it actually being a career. It was going to be the fun thing that you do for a year before you go into your actual career.
In this case for you, law.
Yeah.
So there are two things we could revisit. One, the Katrif and Celine Dion coming back. And two, that first album launch, that first moment you were about to speak about.
Yeah.
Tell us about the trip. What was that about?
So in I was in a Catholic high school, and every year, I don't know if it still runs, I think so, but every year there's a worldwide event called World Youth Day. So Catholic youth from all over the world just congregate in this one country, and it's like a festival. It's like a 2-week festival of just Catholicism and vibes. Like, that's what it is. It's just
That's a good tagline.
That's a very good tagline. Yeah. Catholicism and vibes.
Catholicism and vibes. So our and youth is truly like I think 13 to like 30. Right? And so it's properly set up. Think like Tomorrowland clean. You know, clean.
with just lots of wine and sacrament.
Tomorrowland, but not even wine and sacrament, really. It's supposed to be with water and any, but human beings are human beings. But it's just this festival of different activities all over the town. And in our case, it was in Germany, in a city called Cologne in Germany. And you just go around and do all these exciting things, but it culminates in this 2-day like weekend. I'm telling you, it's a festival. This 2-day weekend mass, like a mass and mass, being run, being what do priests do? They hold mass. They you know what I mean?
There's a name for it.
But the priest in this scenario is the Pope. So we are at mass, and the Pope
is saying mass.
Is saying the mass. And I'm like, this is the Pope. Like, you guys, like, we're in there. You know, it was a wild experience for a child to have. It was actually a wild experience. But throughout that, and you also just learn. First, I learned community in a completely different way, because there are people we can't even speak the same language. The one day that I can never forget is we started playing shortcutty. Because there was about 20 of us that came from school, right? So you're bored because you're also waiting for things. Of course, when you're doing things with I think it has 1 million to 1.5 million people who attend every year. Okay. It's a huge thing. It's ridiculous. So at some point, I mean, to run all these things.
Yeah, there are gaps in between. Yeah.
And we're kids. So, and your kids who it's limited, you can't run away and go and hang out in the local restaurant. You don't even have the money to do that, right? So you're here in like a square. So imagine like this sort of like piazza type square. I don't know what that would be called in German. But we're in this square and someone has like a tennis ball and we're like, okay, let's just play like shortcutty. We just, sometime we've carried djembes because we knew that we were going to like end up singing like songs with them. You know what I mean? And of course it's our teachers who have planned these things, like just the instruments and stuff. So we start playing shortcutty and like we're like, this is me with the shaker for those people who can't see.
Kayamba.
I thought it was a kayamba.
Muku with a kayamba, Muku with my kayamba, and there are djembes, and like we start playing shortcutty. But the rules of shortcutty are very clear. Like you're just it's jumping over a ball, and all of a sudden the line just starts to grow.
Oh wow.
And it becomes this like 60-70 people game. And we're basically singing like, aloya, aloya, you know what I mean? And then people are starting to understand, of course, because it's a simple response. Like, aloya is a simple response. And like, it just became this, I understood how piercing music is, how piercing play is, and how piercing just joint intention is. you know, because we've all come for the same thing. We're all just vibes. We're all just I'm a 13-year-old here playing shortcutty with an 18-year-old, 30-year-old German man who will never see me after today. But it was such a moment, you know, that showed me like, we're bigger than ourselves.
Oh, man.
You know?
And all our differences.
Yeah, we're bigger than all these things.
I love that you see it and you pick the lessons from it.
Right. And I
really
saw it
love
then,
that.
which I'm
Even then?
happy. Yeah, I'm happy I saw it then.
Ooh, it's not like and now that I'm older, I see this.
No,
That's
no,
dope.
that's a deep baby.
Hey, okay. Fast forward to another very important moment.
Yeah.
First album launch.
Oh, man.
How does that go?
Wow.
How long have you been preparing? Do you feel prepared? How many songs are we in? Are you guys are you prepared? Are you ready?
So we had hey, wow. Hey, a story. I'm like, how much time do you actually have? Because we were, so first of all, when Elani started, there were 5 of us.
Oh.
Yes.
Exclusive.
Yes.
Hey,
Exclusive.
Hey, man.
So there were 5 of us and 5 vocalists. We were an a cappella group.
Okay.
5 vocalists.
So there was you, Brian,
Wambui.
And the others.
And then no.
Okay.
And then a really, really cool guy called Patrick. But remember, we were meeting when we were 18 and about to go to school. So he went to school abroad.
Okay.
So then, I mean, that's the end of that. And then Della. And Della was
No.
Yes. And,
Mama, Papa.
and
That Della.
yes.
Wow.
And Della wanted to pursue her career by herself when we started. And she had, I think, if I'm not wrong, had just done the song, the Mama Papa song.
Yeah.
And I remember
Mwanzo.
sitting with her and telling her, my sister, I cannot provide you with the resources or opportunities that are being offered to you over there. Fly, my sister. Don't stay. Don't stay. Yeah. We don't know what this is. We don't even know what this is. Well, for all we know, we're going back to school, right? And at the time, Sauti at that time had just been I think signed by, and I'm sorry if I get like a few of these like dates wrong, but had just been signed by a record label called Penya.
Wawesh.
And yes, Wawesh. And they had been signed, and part of that deal, because they were what is connected to was it a Danish company or a Dutch company? Anyway, either way, there's opportunity to go to Europe. Okay. Right? Which me, as an 18-year-old Alliance attending French student, cannot offer anybody. So they wanted to tour. They wanted Sauti to tour and needed acts to go with them. And Della is there with Mama Papa and a few other songs she had written. I told her, go immediately. You can't stay here. What an adventure.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's my key, is becoming a keyword of mine, adventure. Like, don't say no to the adventure because of the potential for what this is. We don't even know what this is. I promise you, I'll just go to law school in September and then it's over.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah. And then there were 3. And so there was the 3 of us. We had to figure out how to get like the band together. So we started Polycarp used to play for us, like Fancy Fingers used to play for us. Savara used to play the drums for us at some point. So they were very formative. You know, Bien would help us write. It was they were so impactful in the formation of the beginning of like seeing music in that way. And then they went and they started to fly. And then here we are in this space in Alliance, and we start just singing and writing for fun, you know. And you're in this space where, yes, you are allowed into the sort of the garden area to rehearse and to be youthful, but also as you're hanging out there, in walks Achieng Abura, in walks Ian Bogwa, in walks Idi Achieng, you know, like in walks the people, because Alliance was just filled with these people who at the time were, what, even now, like people who I can't even sit down calmly next to date, you know. And they'd walk in, and every once in a while it's like, oh, Idi Achieng has a performance on Friday, but her opening act has cancelled. Do you want to sing? You won't be paid, but come and cut and raise. Well, like, yeah, absolutely, an opportunity to perform. So we start to perform, and you start to perform, and you realize some of these songs are really resonating with people, and all of a sudden there are people singing word for word a song that you've not recorded. And we're like, what is this? What is this? Something is happening. And yeah, so we just start the process of like, do we want to curate these songs? Not recording was not even in our minds at the time. Like, let's just curate these things and see how it goes. And we put the songs together and we realize, okay, there's at least a good chunk of, there's like a nice 10, 15 songs here. We should put our own concert together. So you start to put together your own concert, and then people ask, when can I hear this song on the radio? Now, we didn't know anything really at the time. And Penya comes and says that they want to sign us as well. Absolutely, because the songs already exist, you know. So we get signed to Penya and we start to work on an album. We work with our first producer, who I will not name. Well done. Well done, sir. You hurt me. But we went and recorded. He was based in Gumo. We went and recorded with him for some time, and we almost finished the album, and then he just sort of ghosted us.
Oh. Right?
And he just disappeared. Deposits paid. Deposits scrapped for, because also at the time you're doing gigs, but to be honest, we were paid, and this is not like hyperbole, we were being paid maybe about like 12.5 to like 20k a gig, right?
For the whole band.
Yes. And I mean, you're happy to do it because it'll get you your matatu home.
Yeah,
it'll get you, you'll move around. And anyway, that's that's paying your dues time, right? You have to just get the practice in and all those things. So by the time I've saved this 100,000 bob to give this guy, you've scraped, you know. But yeah, so he disappeared, and we're like, okay, we're just gonna have to start again. So we start again, and we're introduced to a second producer. And at this time, I meet Musyoka. I tell him this story all the time. I met Musyoka at a party, very randomly, and we're at the height of the frustration of having to move from one producer to another and start again, a process that we're like, actually, how are we even going to afford this? The record label has come in and said that they're going to pay half, but you still have to find your half, you know. And we were just, I mean, you're 19 years old. Where are you going to find half the money a record label can give you, you know? Anyway, so I go to Musyoka. I'm like, hi, my name is Maureen. I'm in a group called Elani, and we'd really want to work with you. And Musyoka says, I don't work with amateurs. Oh. And I'm like, but true. Yeah. And true to form what he meant and and we've talked about it all the time. And Musyoka is one of my best friends now. But I knew I'd get you. I knew I'd get you, Musyoka. So one of my best friends now. But at the time, what he meant, and at the point in his career that he was at, I can't teach you how to use a microphone. I can't teach you. I don't have the time to do that. And that's fair. Yeah. And he's finished and paid his dues, and he can send me to a producer who's willing to learn how to
and grow with you
and grow with me. But he's like, at this point, you're not welcome. I don't want to say welcome, but like, welcome into this room. Fair. Absolutely perfectly fair. You know, and so we continued with the producer who we were working with. And then at some point, that producer also sort of like in and out. So now we're recording this album for the third time.
Oh, wow.
We're starting to record this album for the third time. And one of the songs that we were doing was going to be produced by Savara.
Okay.
Yeah, I call these people other names. I'm sorry, by Savara.
Yeah.
And he was learning, I think, some of the production stuff from Musyoka. So he's now Savara, who is, and that's what Musyoka meant, right? To go to people who are learning how to produce if you're learning how to sing, right? So we are working now with Mudigi at the time, and he is learning from Musyoka. So of course Musyoka is listening to the stuff that Savara is producing, and he asks, "Who is that?" Like, "Oh, this group called Elani." No. That girl who needed me said she's called you. She said she was from what group? Oh, it's from Elani over. And then he says he wants to meet us. Okay. Then we go and meet him. And that was the beginning of one of the most influential, fantastic relationships professional relationships of my whole career to date. Yeah. Musyoka is one of the best things that ever happened to us to date. Such a blessing and such a wonderful human being who is just willing to give of his time and resource and expertise and push you to do things, you know, the way you're supposed to. And he's so disciplined and so on it that you also have to, you have to match up and step up. And working with that caliber of a person early in our career changed completely how we approach music at all. So
the album
happens with Musyoka's help now.
Good.
And
is he the main producer, or are you working with Savara?
So this is where we're also learning those things where there's a difference between producing and our producing has elements, and there's the recording of it, and then there's mixing and there's mastering, and I didn't know those things, and that's what Musyoka meant. You don't know these things, so when you're coming to me, what are you even actually asking me to do in the process?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know what you want me to do. So he became sort of a primary, helping us to continue to produce it, but also then to mix and master it and make it the caliber and quality that is available for radio or for comparable worldwide. You know what I mean? You want your music to be able to be heard, to be listened to after an Adele song, and the quality of the sound. Maybe the sound is completely different, but the quality and the caliber of the sound is the same.
That's good.
So yeah, then we move now to Haya. How many times have we recorded this thing? 3. So because we could not afford it, we've taken a loan. So we took a loan.
Against what security?
Nothing. So actually we met. I will forever also be grateful to Sam. So this guy called Sam, who just came through and said, like, you guys, whatever it is that you need, let me know. And I've always found that very difficult. It's very hard for me to ask for help as a human being, just in general. And I think maybe that's the power of having a team or other people around you, because where I fail, you may succeed. So Brian and Sam were actually quite close. And he's like, you know what, we actually need like some money to make this thing work. And he's like, how much do you need? And we do the math. We go and do the math, and we're like, honestly, we need about 250,000 bob. This is a good 12 years ago. Yeah. We need about 250,000.
Are you in uni now?
Yes, we've joined uni. None of us have jobs. We're all in school.
Yeah.
And we're like, honestly, we need this loan for a year. 250,000 bob. We need this loan for a year. We got it in September. We're like, we'll give it back to you by September next year. And he's like, sawa, just do it interest-free. No, yani, he's like, just take it. I trust you guys that you'll return it. And we're like, okay. So we go. Now this is September. We've said we are going to do this thing. In the course of around that time, the label drops us.
Oh.
And they say that this thing is moving too slow and they don't see a lot of potential for us to be successful. So let's just end the relationship here. So now you've been dropped. Well, like, you guys, we were just about to record a music video that they were supposed to help us pay half for, and they're gone. Like, what are we supposed to do? You know? So we end up just saying, you know what? We're just going to do this. We've just taken a loan. Let's just do it. Let's see where it ends up. So we record this. We are in studio mixing and mastering, finalizing this song called Jana Usiku. And we're like, this is the song we're going to do a music video for. And as we sit in the studio, this guy walks in. I think his name is Steve. Walks into the studio and he's like, hey, what is that? Like, oh, and we're sitting, you're just kids, stressed, sitting, hungry, sitting in a circle. We're like, and he asks, what is this? What song is this? Like, yeah, this is our first song. We want it to be our single. We're looking to release it. And he's like, I've just bought cameras. I've shot one music video. If you guys trust me, I can shoot this one for free. Me, I'll say no to a free thing.
Providence.
It just came. And we're like, okay, that's what we're going to do. Sawa. We get all our actual friends. So if you go and see the Jana Usiku music video, do you guys put like little screens of other things happening? Like, is the Jana Usiku music video here playing here?
It will be done.
So we go into a photo studio, right? Because we're like, where can we control light and we don't have to think too hard? Because those are the things he is saying now as a person who's entering that field of film. And also that's when I learned, like, let people thrive in their own lane. I didn't know anything about shooting a music video, so I can't be the one to tell him how to go about his job, right? So he says he wants to do it in a photo studio so that there's a lot of control with regard to the lighting. I've heard you. We will find you a studio. And there's this studio called, I think it's still called IQ, at Lavington Mall. And we're like, that's where we're going to go. We asked them for it. They're like, sawa. We have to shoot. They give it to us for free, but you have to shoot at night because then there are no photo shoots happening. And we go and collect all our friends, tell them to wear nice clothes. We get actual like bottles of booze and we say we're going to have a party, guys, and this party is going to be short and this is going to be the music video for Jana Usiku. And we start, and that's sort of what happened. So actually, funny enough, there's this scene. Oh, please put this over here. There's this scene of boys sort of like spiking the punch. those boys were spiking the punch. Like it was being spiked. The drink was being spiked.
Yeah.
Like, of course they were spiking with like we knew, but like I'm like, that is legit. Don't think that's water, my guys. That was not water. Hey, it was a party, right? And yeah, but we're obviously so panicky. You're not even going to, I mean, of course, drink much or whatever, because you're also panicking about this space. There are props in the studio that you don't want to mess up, all these things. But anyway, fast forward. We released Jana Usiku and it's just dead. Nothing, nowhere. No one cares. No one wants to listen. No one cares. Everyone thought it was Camp Mula. Actually, everyone thought that the song was Camp Mula because of the style of Jana Usiku. So, and the fact that you can hear a female vocal. So they're like, Karun. New, brand new song. So everyone thought it was Camp Mula. No one listened. And now it's time to plan to release the album. And we're thinking, okay, the album.
Okay. Is this not as many people had it and reacted as grandly as you wanted?
Nobody really. Like, I mean, we put it up.
I do
Don't say
remember.
nobody. I do remember.
Now, let me re-record your history for you. What you remember, and I promise you, is Jana Usiku after Milele has come out.
No.
Because, okay, then maybe you are one
For
of
me,
the
mine is special because
4,000 people.
a bit of history for me is because I was in class with one boy.
Oh, fine. That's different.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
So I used to see this babe, we were doing calculus 1, and then I think she used to come sometimes with a guitar.
Yeah.
And wow. People who are doing things.
Celebrities.
Different social economic class, guitar. Where?
Different socioeconomic class.
Nalenga.
High Tracy, same was
Do you know?
That's
I
true.
see this. I see this too, because for his story, clearly
Yeah.
there's evidence. But the way you've rearranged it,
I've
Nico,
learned something today.
the way
Forgive
you've
me.
rearranged it, Nico. Wait, okay, yeah, you might be right. I think I had it, but it got bigger after.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So there was and we're also really struggling at this time. You've just been dropped. There's a lot of lack of hope. And the next thing is, well, like we've recorded this body of music. Let's just release it. I was in 4th year now at the time. So all this thing has happened. This whole thing has
4
happened
years.
over 4 years.
Sorry, just one thing. I remember thinking when I heard that song, this craft is really hard because one boy started doing this when we were in 1st year.
Exactly.
I remember walking out of class some days and running with a guitar, and she was going to do something.
Yes.
Then when I hear, because I didn't know what she was doing,
Yeah.
As you guys are malizaing school.
then 4 years later is when I see her.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's what she was doing.
it's taken 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, imagine. And it's 4 years, of course, because you're starting and stopping, and because you're running and hitting a wall, or you're running and someone is literally pulling you backwards. And you just keep going. But by the end of the 4 years, we were tired. Yeah. Right?
Of course.
So we said, you know what? We've done this thing. We've taken this loan. Here is an album. It's here. Here is our album. Let's just release this thing. And you can go and be a lawyer. And one boy can go and be an actuary. And we've done a really cool thing with our youth. And we can just move on. And the reason that the album launch was the thing that shifted my whole perception of performing is because it was supposed to be the last performance of our lives.
Oh.
Right? So we've said this thing as in it's okay. Actually, the day, my last day of law school, 6th December, the last day of my last law school exam was the same day of the album launch.
Wow.
So you're running these things concurrently. We were dying. Like we were exhausted. I would cry all the time. I'm like, I'm so tired. This thing doesn't have this thing that was supposed to give me like joy and be the thing that is giving me some light while I go to law school, because law school is hard. It's the other way around. I'm like, let me just be a lawyer, And we are doing everything ourselves because now there isn't the machinery of an album. I mean, of a record label. So here we are. We've figured out and learned what pressing of an album is, because it was still physical CDs at the time. We had to press in Tanzania because the quality versus the price, it's in Tanzania. So you're sending a bus with your stuff, hoping that your bus comes back with 1,000 albums. We sent 1,000 albums because from economies of scale, it'll be cheaper. So we get 1,000 albums. You're given 1,000 CDs. And I remember us sitting on the 5th of December, the day before the album launch. The day before an exam, I have an exam. Sitting, putting the sleeve in the pack, closing, packing, right?
Was it just
Packing
3
our
of
album.
you
3 of us
and friends?
2 of Brian's neighbors from South Sea. Closing and packing. Put them in the back of my mom's car, the boot of my mom's car. I drive home because we had an interview. For the first time, we've been trying for months to get an interview on Nation, that show in the morning, hosted by Sheila Mwanyiga and another lady whose name I can't remember right now. Akin, the way I love her so much. Anyway, but we were trying so hard to get on that show, but at the time, but you're nobody, right? And we kept telling ourselves, if we just get on TV, if we just have a TV interview, people will show up. that was the logic we've given ourselves.
No, it was Chic. No, that's
a
much
lady.
later. Sorry.
Was this the alikuwa naitwa Kobe or something?
Kobe Kihara.
Yes, Kobe Kihara.
So Sheila Mwanyiga and Kobe Kihara. And we have the interview for that morning. That morning, I have an exam that day. We have an interview for that morning, right? So we're told, okay, come to Nation at 5 a.m. The show starts at 7. Because maybe you guys don't know. The media generally used to treat, and it still does, used to treat artists with very heavy, like, sort of gloves, because you'll find that very many artists, I don't enjoy the stereotype, but very many artists are unprofessional. So with regard to time, with regard to, you know what I mean? There's a perception that we're very unprofessional people. So they tell you to come at 5 knowing that you will be hanged or something, and you'll come at 6 or 7 because the show starts at 7. Did we know the show starts at 7? No. So 5 a.m. Nation Center.
Tumekuja interview.
Kobe mwenyewe hajafika. Bruh.
Studio haijaoshwa.
Nothing. There's a guy mopping the floor. Like, what's going on? So 5, 6. At about 6:30, we're told, hey, my guys, we're not going to be able to interview you today.
Oh, yeah, this is that coming.
Why can we not interview you today? Nelson Mandela died yesterday.
Oh no.
Hey, hiya, bas.
Oh no.
Okay.
Of course that will
There's
take.
no way we're going to talk about your album. Nelson
Yeah.
Mandela died yesterday. Rest his soul in peace. Anyway, so I'm like, hiya, mimi nani? Back to Parklands. Let me go to Parklands and do my exam, I guess.
What time was your exam?
By this time, I think it was at 10. So off we go. So even that 7, I was really cutting it close. But I think it was at 7. I mean at 9. So, or at 10. So we go to, I go to Parklands. I finish my exam. I go to Allianz. Like, all right, guys, here's our gig day. You know, you don't even feel the nini. You know, when your classmates are outside saying, like, what did you answer? Question 2B. What did you say? You know, I don't even have time to do that.
Yeah.
And I go straight to town. And there and we start to unpack the stuff and plan the things. Of course, the ticketing people are our friends. The what are our, you know what I mean? You don't have a staff. You don't have people doing this thing. But I remember that day was why we knew we wouldn't do this anymore. It's because we had sold about 84 tickets, right? A ticket at that time was 500 bob. We're like, you guys, this is a non-feasible business. Like, this is not going to work. No one is coming. The venue itself was, I think, 12K. Even the venue we've not covered. Like, we're not, as in, you guys, like, this thing is just hopeless, you know? And we're like, it's okay. I have a friend called Makasolang. He used to be he used to be an actor. Now he's a great photographer. And he was emceeing the show. And he came and took us to the backstage, like Allianz behind has a tent. And he took us and he said, we're going to pray and I'm going to speak to you guys and I hope that you hear me because I now have to go back and do like front of house stuff. And he comes and says, listen, whether you're performing for 10 or for 1,000 people, just do, yani, roho moja tu. Yani, just do everything you can possibly do, which I've actually continued to do throughout my life. Like whether you're performing to 6 or to 6,000, just give it everything you can give it, right? That's what he says. Of course, we know deep inside he's trying to calm our hearts because no one is coming to this show. No one is coming. And we're like, okay, it is what it is. So we're backstage, you're starting to put on your little outfit that you've put together for yourselves. You know, you've made plans, nini. And it starts sort of getting like a little like bustly. You know, you can sense like bustle. You're like, why is it bustly? That's weird. Anyway, let's continue. And Marcus comes back and says, you guys come, I just want you to look through a sliver in the tent. And we look through a sliver and you're just seeing like heads, like the head through to the back of Allianz and like out into like the gallery part that's not even a performance space. And we're like, what is it that has happened here? And we realized what we didn't realize is the last day of our law school exam was the last day of these other exams. Of all the University of Nairobi exams ended on the same day. So the plan for everyone before they went to drink was to go for this show, right? So we were closed. The doors were closed. You know what I mean? Like people, we couldn't. Oh my! I'll never forget that day. And that's the day I stood. First of all, you panic first because you're like, was this show ready for ready for these people? And then it's like, you know what? Let's show them that this thing is a thing, right? And we go and perform, and I think give the performance of our lives. I'm glad there's no video of that one.
No, it was a beautiful performance.
Yeah, performance of our lives.
Yeah.
Someone got engaged on the stage.
I remember.
It was.
Oh, you actually went?
Yeah, well, I was there.
It
I
was
still have the
show.
disc that you guys put.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Actually, looking for it. It's somewhere in the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we hadn't sold any tickets that day. Before that day, before that show, we hadn't sold any tickets, and so it was like that's when you leave the adrenaline. It's like, you guys, we can't do this thing, and that's
Yeah.
when the three of us are like, sour, we're doing this thing, and then that was the beginning. You know what I mean? So funny enough that the beginning was sort of supposed to be an end, but also was just it's that I think the career sort of had to prove itself to us. The music had to prove that, yes, you're supposed to be here for us to be like, okay, let's do it, because it was hard.
That's quite a journey,
It
man.
was
Wow.
hard.
What are you telling yourself internally throughout all these years? Is there a consistent...
Narrative.
Yeah.
First is like, I'm glad my mom made me go to law school. Like, I'm like, because this sort of thing, I'm like, this biashara is not working.
Thank God there's a plan B.
Like, thank God.
Wow.
Plan A.
Plan A.
But also,
Okay.
I think what I realize now in hindsight, and I think it's how Brian particularly views a lot of things. He's like, this thing is working and this thing is working, and there's no other option other than this thing working. If we've said we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We don't stop. It's fine. We will bleed, we will crawl, we will beg and borrow. We will not steal, but we will beg and we will borrow, and we will make, we'll make this thing happen. And I think that sort of entered my head. At some point, there was nothing else and I think that's also how I am once the plan is in place. This is going to be executed. These moves are going to be made, regardless of whether or not. I don't care how it's received. I don't care how it's. But if we've said that this is the way that we're going, and this is the hopeful projected outcome, I will finish that thing.
I love that, Maze.
Yeah.
I love that. Projected outcome, yeah? 2012. 20, let's even make it a year to COVID. Right there, 2019, looking back.
Yeah.
What do you think of that journey till then?
The funny thing is 2019, just before COVID, we had just released our second album.
There you go.
Just before COVID.
There you go.
So it was sort of like a rebirth, where we've learned all the lessons that we needed to learn from the first one. We released music. We're doing so well on the radio. We're getting into streaming. We're doing performances we could only have dreamed of. Like, this career became a career. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this thing became the thing that your parent is so proud to say that you do, which for the arts is hard to get to. To get your folks to be proud with you is a little difficult. So for my actually, funny enough, my mom was, bring her here. My mom was our manager for some time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the beginning, because she's like, people don't know anything about business. Let me run your numbers. You're questionable. She's such a cool babe. She's a cool babe. Anyway, so we've learned the lessons. We've taken a little bit of a break to recreate, right? And we've come up with this second album that for us is so much deeper and more meaningful, because you're in your 20s now. You've experienced life a bit more. You've done this job full time for a period of time. Your skill has changed dramatically. And we're like, all right, let's gear it up. But also, let's make sure that everybody's individual sort of light is shining. Let's make sure everyone has because when you start and you're a group, you're very amalgamated.
Yeah.
And it's sort of meant to be so that people only view you like that. But then by the time you
There's
get to
only Elani.
yeah, exactly. But then when your brain has finished developing Uko 25, you're like, okay, but who am I? Right? Outside of it. So we had also started having conversations about, okay, what does each person want to do? Do people want to move into film? Do people want to move into other things? Do people want to influence? What do people want to do? So it was a really nice time primed for Elani is going to be the train that is taking us everywhere, but there are going to be stops, and people can stop, and the train will stop for you. We're not going to keep going, and people will do what they want to do, and then we keep, we just keep going. And the momentum of that person, or maybe let me use like tributaries in a river, right? Like because the momentum of that little tributary is what's going to push the river, right? So if I did a movie and it's a blockbuster film, it's good for Elani. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were at that place. We're at a sort of like learning. I don't want to say self-actualizing because it wasn't there yet.
Discovery.
But the discovery is coming to conclusions finally. You know, the question marks are coming to full stops. We're like, okay, I think this is what I want to do. We're like, okay, get ready. 2020 is our year.
Oh.
Let's jump in. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, wow, your job has actually stopped, physically stopped. There are people are not even in those bars to. It's not that the bar is not inviting you, the bar is closed. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to perform. You're wondering whether you're dying. You don't know what's going
You're there
on.
wiping groceries.
Yeah, you're wiping down things. You're scared to see your parents. You're scared to,
You bought that. You've bought that thermometer thing.
Exactly, to make sure. And
Tell
I'm
me
like,
about it.
as in, but then, and you're focusing on, and that's why I don't know, the human mind is so, just the human experience and condition is so confusing because you're dealing with such a high level, high stress situation where truly we are actually in between life and death.
Yeah.
But also you're going to pay rent. And also you're going to, you know what I mean? And also you need to continue to self-develop. So make sure you're reading some books. And also you need to, and maybe I need to start a business. God, should I be starting there's nothing to do. Okay. I'm like, my Lord. There's never one thing, right? There's never one thing. There are always layers. And I think so for us, it was a hard stop because that's just the name of the game, that it stopped for a minute. But even now when it was time to sort of bring it, when people did a lot of like at home sort of COVID concerts and stuff like that, we're like, that's not actually, if we're being honest, maybe we just need to figure out what we want to, maybe that thing that we were trying to do while the train is still moving, maybe it's just time to
Do that.
sit and do it,
Yeah.
and figure out who we are as people. And that's what we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the project though? How do you now?
So we had already released the album.
Yeah.
We had a wonderful concert at Jay's. It was also full. It was just one of these actually there's a video of that I will send to you.
That would be
Because
cool.
there's a clip that I heard you can hear, it's on Instagram. You can hear the crowd singing louder than us. And at some point we couldn't hear
Yourself.
ourselves. Like your monitor is not doing it
Please
for
send
you.
it to
I'll
us,
send
yeah.
it to you. And I was like, that was also one of the days that I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed. And I think you can even see it in the video because at some point I'm like holding my hand and fanning my eyes. I'm about to cry on that stage. And so we had released the project, and the project had a lot of sort of podcast conversations around it because the concept of it was the colors of love and the different phases that love goes through.
Yeah.
And so from the beginning to like it turning a little gray to a whole heartbreak to refinding yourself and like developing a relationship with God. And so all those songs were supposed to come out in order. That was the point. They were supposed to come out in the order of the storyline of the couple. Right? And around that, we were going to release sort of podcast episodes about each of those phases of relationships. Plan.
God is just smiling.
Plan na nusu.
Sindio?
Si plan tu.
Hey, plan na nusu.
Tell me about it.
God is like, are you guys almost ready?
Yes, you know.
You guys almost ready down
press
there?
button.
Okay, pause.
So you also don't go aggressive on pushing it during COVID.
No,
you're
we
just
didn't.
like
Yeah, we're like, okay.
Yeah.
it as well.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
well. It is
Yeah.
well.
I have a question. We can laugh about it now.
Yeah.
What was happening in your mind at this point?
Oh man. I think I was entering just sort of a phase of trying to figure out like a new, actually to be honest at that time, sort of a new life. It's important to be honest about things. So even with when I was saying when we were releasing the first album, the truth is that we were about to pivot into our new lives. When COVID came, I was like, gosh, maybe this is an opportunity to actually just pivot into a new life. Maybe I've done everything I was supposed to do with this thing. Maybe I've performed to the extent that I'm meant to perform, and maybe I'm just supposed to leave my legacy here. And it's a really great legacy, and I did really well. And it's a nice thing to say that I did in my 20s, and I built something, and it's fantastic. So I sort of like semi-retired.
Oh, that's so interesting because the next decade is coming in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're sort of like, all right, I've done my 20s. Great. So let me figure out who and what I want to be in this next. Let me I started an online business. It went well, actually. But I just started doing things, trying to figure out.
Is this when you also got active on YouTube?
I did no. So YouTube was before that,
Okay.
but that's when I started getting active influencing, like proper, like
Okay,
getting in
yeah.
touch with brands.
Because there was a time
There-
you were out there.
Yes, yes. So that's when I was like, okay, what are the things I love? Or just what are the things that are my lifestyle? I take care of my hair all the time anyway, because it's just there. What am I gonna do? That's how it is. So, and I hadn't even realized, because sometimes you do something for yourself that is not based on obviously the outside, like a choice to keep, especially at that time, a choice to keep your hair natural was for you. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't trendy. It wasn't cool. It wasn't so even the care of it and sort of like the spirituality of the regimen and the root and the ritual of it. It was very self-love based, this hair thing. So I'm like, okay, let's see, maybe there are brands that align with that, and then maybe, because of course people are looking and thinking, and brands are looking at whose hair, we don't know what did that to get her hair there, but can we jump on board now?
Yeah, we like it.
Can we jump on board now? So yeah, then brands start coming in, and it moves from hair into beauty, into like, oh, what else are you interested in? And then development, and like I love conversations like these. So any brands that are interested in having that allow me to create content that we can do things like this, you know what I mean? So even I talk about that to mean like even a company I'm working with now, because I'm working with, am I allowed to talk about companies here? Because I'm working with Glenfiddich. This is the third year I've been working with Glenfiddich, and the thing that I love about working with the team there is they're like, the version of you that you want to be is the version of you that we're after. Like we're not going to tell you how to do this. Like it's you, we've come for you. It's not, so to sit and be able to like ask and talk and spitball things about like music content I want to make that's connected to the brand, or like hair content I want to make connected to the brand, and they're like, yeah, let's do that. So when I find brands that allow me to breathe and do what I want to do, it really so that's what I was doing that time. I'm like, because also you're thinking money at the time. So survival. I'm like, brands, it has to be brands. What else can it be?
Yeah. And at what point do you feel deep down the music calling you back?
Not until recently.
Okay.
Not until recently, actually. It didn't. And I think it was just, it was the mindset of the rat race that blocked the voice of the music.
Okay.
It wasn't,
So
I think it was
there.
always there. It's always been there. Since I was a kid, it was always there. But at some point, I don't tell this story very often, but at some point in 2023, I think 2023, I developed like proper insomnia. Like I could not sleep. And I'm waking up in the morning with a full melody in my head. Or I'm waking up in the morning with a whole, you know what I mean? And I'm stressed. I feel like I'm not going in the direction I'm supposed to go. This is the first time I've ever sort of heard the voice saying that truly you're not going in the direction that you're supposed to go in. If you keep going this way, you're going to lose this thing. Yeah, mayday. Course correct.
Yes.
You're not heading north. You're going somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, let me see then what this thing is, right? And I call Tots. Tots is a piano guy. He used to be our music director, fantastic keyboardist. And I call him and I say, you know what? I don't know what's what, right? But let's just enter a studio. You just play for me and I sing songs. Like, let's just do that. And he plays and I sing. And of course I sing for him to get the chord progression of the thing that I'm singing to him, and he plays it and we record his piano line, right? And then I sit and I record my vocals for a few songs. And I went home and I slept like a baby. And I was like, got it. Got it. And I've never seen such a clear sign. I've never seen such a clear sign in my life. Okay, once I've seen, because there's a long next video. I'll tell you about how I had a vision, a true vision. I saw it with my eyes. But that's when I realized, okay, I'm supposed to be doing this thing. I'm supposed to be doing this thing.
What does that say though? To the choices that you've made within, say, that was 2023.
Yeah.
Did that experience influence what you went on to do within the last?
It did. It did. It made me now, to lean in. It made me lean into that musical side of me again. To bring that version of me back. So, and then to learn the piano finally. I've not been finally all this time I've been saying, first of all, the piano is my favorite instrument. I've been planning to learn it. I bought myself a keyboard. It's in my living room and I did not learn to play it until now. So now, just to learn and to grow and to start to like record again and put yourself back in those spaces that are where you're meant to be. And also I think because I've become a very sort of introspective, intuitive person, it's very easy for me now to feel internally that alignment coming back, you know? So I'm leaning into my music.
Yeah.
I love the hints in there.
I'm
love the
leaning.
hints. I
The
see.
hint. You said something very interesting, that you've learned how to become a more intuitive and aware person. Are there any practices that are have sort of helped get you there?
So first, therapy helped me a lot.
Okay.
I've always been, sometimes people say therapy is not for everybody. I think therapy is for everybody at least once. That's my thing. Also, don't knock it till you try it, but like therapy really brought in a self-awareness to an extent that I didn't have, for sure. And I think there's something about learning that you don't know yourself that really makes you wonder,
What else
like,
do you
what
know?
else don't I know?
Right.
Right? Or like a therapist is asking you such a basic question about, like, why did you respond like that? Or like, why did you cry? Because you did, why did that make you cry? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, never thought of that.
I don't know why I cried. But you cried. What a huge reaction to something. Why did you react so huge? And I'm like, and I have no idea. Then you wonder, my gosh, how do I respond to things in general? Then now you start thinking. And it really took me on a journey. So I'm very, very introspective. Let me tell you, there are journals in my house. There are stacks. You know how people collect books? How people have a library of books? I have a library of journals. I write all the time.
I like that.
I have this wonderful WhatsApp group with myself. We check in every once in a while. But I've started doing, actually it works. I'm trying to do it every morning, but I do affirmations a lot now. Just to remind myself sort of like of who I am. But then after that, I really try to enter like I'm learning that that's sort of like meditation doesn't have one way
of doing it.
So it's sort of like my meditative time, and just to sit with myself. What did you think about this thing? What do you truly want to do? That thing that's making you feel uncomfortable. So that's what the WhatsApp group is for, right? If I'm in a situation that's making me feel uncomfortable, I'll write to myself and be like, hey, tomorrow, let us analyze why this person is making you feel this way. And the next day I'll sit and be like, okay, what about this person is misaligning with my spirit? And then that way you're just sort of surrounded. Imagine it's like being surrounded by cheerleaders all the time. It's wonderful, right? And a lot of people say like it's not realistic to have to expect like things to be going well around you all the time. You know what I mean? Like of course there are ups and downs in life, but I fully believe that you can completely choose the people who are around you during those times, right? And the person who is around you during that time dictates how you respond
Your
to
responsiveness.
it, So if you're surrounded by people who are problem-solving, go-getting, optimistic people, then you will have a problem-solving, optimistic mindset.
Yeah.
If you're surrounded by people who are dragged down by their issues, that's how you'll respond.
That's how
classical,
you
you're the
So-
average of the 5 people you spend your time
Your
with.
time
Exactly.
with, exactly. And I'm also learning, that's a new thing I'm learning this year, is that cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth in cliches.
So
They
much
come
truth
from
in cliche
somewhere.
statements. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it's vibrational. It has
Absolutely.
to be. It has
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the low side? Did you ever?
I did a little bit.
Okay.
So I found myself consulting a lot and doing, I find, and maybe that's what I'll go back into doing. I used to teach some workshops. So basic contract workshops and basic IP knowledge, intellectual property knowledge.
So fusing the two things.
Exactly.
I
Fusing what
see.
I really enjoy and putting entertainment and law together and saying, okay, what's a gap that I see? I can see the number of people who have legal teams who are taking advantage of this artist who has themselves and their friends, and that's what they're trying to do. And people are trying to now navigate, thank goodness for AI actually, because you can analyze a lot of things now. But before that, and even now still, the mindset of you have a whole corporation who's coming to work with an artist, and say, for example, a corporation that wants this artist's song to use it for something, right? The amount of you're sending me a 20-page document, right? I'm 19 years old. I've just I'm only surrounded by, I just have talent and a dream and a hunger, which they also leverage on. And they're coming in with these little, very nuanced lines about keeping that music in perpetuity or not allowing this person to use this and that, So there's a lot of, I think capitalist business is very sneaky, but we find ourselves in places where we're really trapped by the things that we've signed, and you've signed them, and you don't really know what you're signing away. So how this sort of consultancy started is it started with me actually helping my peers. If they have a contract, I'm like, just bring the contract, I read it for you, I just circle for you the things that you need to watch out for. And 9 times out of 10, when I bring it up to the corporation, they'll change it. So you knew you could, you know what I mean? You're just waiting to get away with it.
Just
But
leaking it.
you're just trying to see what you can get away with, So I think, for me, that really lit a fire in me about like, also I'm a big like social justice lady. So I'm like, how can we're the underdog.
Oh man. We haven't even gotten to jump
Not
in there
even,
to that
I feel
side.
like we've not even scratched the
That's what I was saying to Mingi Eloni, yo, let's talk MCSK.
Oh,
Do you remember?
my.
You guys were the first ones to go.
Oh, gosh.
What is this money, by the way?
Oh gosh, we weren't the first,
You
but
weren't the
we were
first?
certainly, I think, one of the loudest.
Okay.
Because Poxy Pressure, rest his soul,
Oh, yeah.
was one of the first. And I remember thinking, and that was one of the things that also motivated us to do it, because I'm thinking this man died crying the same tears that we are crying, and we will also die crying the same tears, and someone else will, and that's insane. It's insane. Yeah. And it was just, we find ourselves in spaces that you see wrong happening. Very many people don't speak about it because you're just like, don't rock the boat. And I think that's cultural. Like,
we're conditioned.
We're conditioned to not rock the boat, to not change things. The status quo is how it's supposed to be.
At least up till the millennials.
Yeah, and then now we are breaking the cycle, and thank goodness for that. It's a bit disruptive, but it's
It has to be disruptive.
No other way.
It does, yeah. And I think it was something that there's no way we couldn't have spoken up about something where I can see I'm coming to an office, people are telling me there's no money and there's a Range Rover outside that place. And you've just come from your mansion in Karen, my guy. Like, let's be a bit real
With
about
our
what's going on here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want to be very respectful of your time.
We must come. I must do a part 2.
Yeah, we have to.
Please,
We
I beg.
definitely we have to do a
We'd
part
be
2 because
honest.
we've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
How is Catholicism working out for you? Is that still part of your life?
Wow. That is Yanni.
we have 4
I did
minutes.
not
Exactly.
expect that. I did not expect. So I can't say that I am particularly Catholic anymore.
We just left with the vibes.
I was left with the vibes. I think I'm actually on a journey of exploring my spirituality a lot now. I found myself more and more visiting different churches to sort of see what aligns with me. That's the season I'm in. So I had a conversation the other day with Pitson. You guys remember Pitson?
Yeah.
Pitson is a pastor now in a church, and I told him I'll come to it. So in about 2 weeks, I'll go to Pitson's church as well. I'm just in the let's visit and see what the vibe feels like. Because I think church is vibes. Because I think it's supposed to be. I really think it's supposed to be vibes. And there's something that like, I feel like it makes no sense to me, the divide sort of between Catholicism and Protestants and Pentecostals and then Christians and non-Christians, and why it's such a... Because I'm like, guys, if the vein of this thing is love and the vein of this thing is connection to a higher power, why are we disagreeing? So do it in the language you know. Why do we have to... I've never understood that. But one thing I always felt, even when I was younger, that non-Catholics got right is this push of a personal relationship with the Lord, like right, the Lord being my personal Lord and Savior, or my, you know what I mean, my Catholicism doesn't quite have that. It's more
The Catholicism that we are taught.
the one we are taught, exactly. So it doesn't quite have that. It is me and the big guy,
Very personal.
which I really like. And so that's why I've said, whatever church I go to, I want to feel that connection that day by myself with the church and with my Lord. Then I'll know that that's where I'm supposed to be.
All the best.
Yeah.
All
Thank
the
you.
best.
Thank you.
Are you sleeping better now?
I am. I'm sleeping so well. I sleep a good 7 hours a night. It's good. It's just too hot now. But otherwise, it's just been really hot. But I sleep so well.
Good.
It's crazy.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. When was the last time you had a hearty laugh? Because I know you laugh a lot. Right today?
No, I laugh a lot.
Okay.
I laugh, because I think I lean into joy, then it's easy to truly laugh.
I love that.
I really do lean into joy. I'm pretty sure I watched something like yesterday that made me laugh out loud, you know? Yeah.
When was the last time you cried?
The opposite.
Probably yesterday.
Okay.
it was
Same
probably
trigger?
yesterday or the day before. No, so I used to be so funny enough. Actually, I know there's that. I'll still tell this story. So life goes through its seasons, right? And you can get into like really like proper ups and downs. And one of the things that I think I sort of regret now is when I was going through some of the hardest times of my life, and that was about COVID time. And I remember, this is just an anecdotal, I won't tell you the whole story, but I remember saying to God, please harden my heart so that I can remove myself from these situations and these people. Like I need you to gray my heart. Like I asked for it. And then he grayed my heart, right? And I think to psychologists and whatever, it's depression. But to me, it's like I prayed to not feel anything, and God was like, got it, right? But I think what I learned either way, to be fair, I think for a season there, because I remember even at some point, I think it was my 30th birthday, maybe, my mom said, I think, don't worry about this girl. She will laugh loudly, but she'll cry all the time. She cries every day. Like, this is just who I was. But once I had prayed that prayer, I actually stopped. I sort of like turned gray.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be fair, to allow myself out of the situation that I was in and to survive through this thing. And when I'm out of it and I'm safe, it's not a click
Where
back.
were we?
Yeah,
don't
where
snap.
were we? Where were those emotions? They're if they're hidden, they're hidden. So you need to work to get them. So that's why I said I lean into joy, because I've been actively re-establishing my relationship with joy. And then when that comes, also your expression of sadness is open, and I don't have shame. I think that's something that I really enjoy about myself. I don't experience shame the same way other people do. So I'll cry loudly over there, without feeling anything about it. So it's very easy for me. My emotions are finally back here on the sleeve where they belong. So it's very easy for me to laugh and to cry. Yeah.
If that's not busy being born, then I don't know what busy being born is, Maze.
And I'll just add something. Shame should only be for unwholesome actions.
Agreed.
That's very, very, very important.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. We feel shame about the wrong things, I feel like even when we talk about things like vulnerability and I'm glad you mentioned millennials and how millennials are the ones who sort of shift these things for us, or who have shifted the narrative, because that that stoic, I'm a man, I'm not going to, that hard thing that used to exist, that where you guys, just because you're male, you can't feel. I'm like, what science is this? But that thing, I see it changing. I see it changing in parenting styles of millennial parents, and in them allowing the expression of their young boys as much as the expression of their young girls. And I'm like, it's nice that we've sort of removed shame from just feeling. We remove because you're right. Why are we stigmatizing feeling things? Why would I stigmatize an emotional response to something? Why would I, as in nikukeme, you have responded in the wrong way? To whom? What do you mean?
Why are you sad, Bana?
What is that? I'm sad because someone has died and you're telling me stiff upper lip. Are you I've lost my XYZ. You know what I mean? I'm like this. I feel like it was so upside down. So to see more people leaning back into just feeling things and emotion and communicating it. And I'm not saying my expectation is that everyone cries on the roadside, but at least allow yourself. Don't go through the feelings that you're at the other end of the feeling, you know? So I like that that's sort of happening a bit more. Yeah. Side note.
Maureen, thank you so much for your time. Very quickly.
Yes.
Are you reading any book right now, or what book have you gifted a lot?
Ooh. I'm just getting back into reading.
Okay.
I have so on the side of my nightstand right now is Ikigai, which I have started and not finished, so I must go back. So that's on the nightstand, that's ready to be read all the time. Ready to be. It's not ready to be read at all times. Yeah. I think because I'm finding myself in a writing and creating space, I'm finding it difficult to find the time to, but I think I'll rectify that. One book that I've always loved is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yep, Paulo Coelho.
I love that book. And it's like one of those classics. It's almost like, when we said a cliche is a cliche for a reason and because it's true and good. I'm like, The Alchemist, because it became so big, people now start attributing its greatness to hype. And I'm like, the book is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think there are a few things that I've just started to pick up. My sister is the most avid reader I know. So I've just got a lot of books from her, and I'm about to. The next time I come here, I will give you a list of 5.
First question.
5 books. Yeah.
Let me jump. Okay. What about music? Where are you? What are you listening to? Who are you enjoying?
I listen to a lot of. I'm in a live music place, so
Okay.
I watch a lot of concerts. I'm doing a lot of research. You see, now I didn't say research because it's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm doing
No,
a lot of
it's
research.
vibes.
Yeah,
It's
it's
vibes.
vibes.
It's
It's vibes. It's
vibes.
vibes.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a lot of research also, just to understand and see what sort of music looks like in this new time. And so I'd watch anybody live. There's a video I will send you also. There's a concert years ago, a Stromae concert.
Yeah.
Stromae is one of my. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like,
Next
this
level.
is next level,
brilliance.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of it doesn't matter who it is and where it's from. It's just the quality and caliber of whether or not I understand the language. It's the quality and the caliber of the live performance. That's where I am now.
Don't
Yeah.
listen to or listen to Toxic Lyrically.
Okay. Chore.
Wow. Do we need a few more minutes to continue our story here?
So
No, it's just that.
I
Just ignore me.
celebrate the curiosity because in
Yeah.
a way we are sort of back to where we began.
Yeah.
The young, very bubbly girl, excited to perform.
Yeah.
And here we are without even, you're not saying that much. But the curiosity of, just being open to seeing. I love the allowing. I love
Yeah.
the feeling. I love the growth. It's so beautiful to hear you speak about that journey, the people around you through it. And we are honored to just sit down with you right now and have this chat.
Yeah,
Asante
thank
sana.
you. This was nice. I was pretty sure. I was like, you guys, I don't have that much to say. Then I forgot who I was for a second. I'm like, of course I have a lot to say. Yeah, but this was so nice and well done. And I hope that this just continues and grows into something huge and fantastic, because there are not enough conversations like this, about just being and about human condition. Yeah, so it's really lovely.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
it's people like you that we learn from, and hopefully other people, even if it's just one more person, can learn about something about your journey that can help them get through the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So thank you.
So
Okay.
thank you so much, and we treasure you, we honor you, and we wish you lots of joy and
Thank
lots of
you.
happiness, and may you
No.
be happy.
Before I go, guys, there are magical questions that you guys ask everybody. You must ask me.
No, it's because you're coming back again.
Oh,
Okay.
You're coming back
Fine.
again.
Is there? Yeah, but because
Fine.
you
You want
insist, because you insist.
which are the big three?
I don't
We've answered
know.
some of them.
Okay, sawa.
just ask me one.
Is there a quote
Oh.
at this present
Oh
moment
gosh, why did I
that
ask
is
for that? Continue.
yeah
That
that,
is-
that is very pertinent to your current situation, or a
Ooh,
quote that has
yes.
carried you?
Yes, I read it. I wrote it in. So I told you I journal all the time. Sometimes I'll journal one page, one. I'll write one sentence on one page because it really resonated. And it said, "How long are you going to avoid what you're capable of to continue with what you're comfortable with?" Right. So yeah, how long? Something like that.
I like that.
How long?
I like
How
that.
long are you going to? And it's not even avoid. Deny yourself. How long are you going to deny yourself what you're truly capable of, for the sake of sitting in what you're comfortable with, right? And it has changed. It has changed me. That one has changed my mindset.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I get it. In fact, it feels like something Abu would say.
It does.
Yeah,
It does. It
I don't know,
does.
like, you're not really, bro. You're the
does.
one I'm thinking of. Yeah, man.
It's true.
Ah, man.
Wondering why you would not ask such a question to Maureen.
Oh.
Again, because we are hoping to lock
Yeah,
in
because I
another
feel
come
like
back.
I feel like this is so just like a third of what we wanted to chat with you.
To talk about. You know what I think should happen? In a few, so you guys do a few more episodes, because I'm also very interested in, because I know what you're doing. I don't know exactly what you're up to, outside of here. I think it would be really cool to regroup and have another conversation and see where we're at.
Let's do
Oh,
that.
good.
Yeah,
It's
that would be
happening.
fun.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Let's do
Okay,
that,
sawa. So
You know
in
what?
short,
I have the
you're...
perfect idea.
Okay. Sawa, basi. It's
yeah.
cooking.
You don't want to commit, say it.
No. We have a live coming up.
Oh.
Yeah, we actually do have. Yes, we have a live
Okay.
coming
Yeah,
up.
we have a live coming up.
Yeah, so but this means we are open to people.
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
Fantastic.
absolutely.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Ladies and
Minimum
gentlemen.
creativity mbaya.
Ai.
Mnaniambia sijui anything.
Wewe unasikiza toxic sana bana. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what a show, maze. It's been full of light. It's been full of laughs,
Sunshine.
dope stories, man, and really positive energy, maze. Asante sana, Maureen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maze. We see you, we celebrate you, and keep doing what you do, keep being who you are, keep growing, stay busy being born.
Hey, man, I really like that. Actually, Busy Being Born is fantastic. But thank you for having me. I'm so happy. So happy.
Yeah, and you asante sana for journeying with us. I hope you've learned a thing or two. And yeah, you as well. We wish you lots of happiness and lots of fulfillment. And may you present yourself fully with your authenticity and change the world with that authenticity.
Yes,
Thank you. You can find us everywhere on Twitter, Instagram at busybeingborn_, and more importantly on our website where we write and post all the shows, and most importantly write busybeingborn.africa.
For sure. Oh, nilikuwa nimalizie. Do it again.
You can find us on the website busybeingborn.africa. There you
Maze,
go.
we finish each other's sentences. You know, that's how we roll.
True love.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, it is true love.
It is true love.
Ladies and gentlemen, asanteni sana. You know what we always say.
If you're not busy being born,
Then you're probably busy not leaving.
kamade.
Kigodu.
Peace.
Peace. Hey, done.
Sorry, we are five-
Thank you. No,
10
it's
minutes
all right. I shall make it.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Do look out for more from us. For now, Kwaheri.